Hello, my name is Mandelin Browning, and I'm your student's Edgenuity monitor. I'll be sending you weekly student progress reports. It's important that you know how to read them so that you know exactly where your student is, if they're on target, if they're exceeding target, or if they need to work a little harder to get back on target. When I send you these reports, they'll have all of their classes listed. Here I have a biology class for a sample student. In reality, when you get your report, you'll have a bunch of classes listed, but they'll all look like this and they'll be stacked on top of each other. So maybe your student has a biology class, and then underneath it, an Algebra 1 class, and then underneath that, an English class. Um, all of them will look pretty much like this. You'll have the same sort of areas of statistics, but you'll have them all in one progress report. If you need to know exactly which class you're looking at, the title is located right in that top blue bar. The first part I want to really point out to you on this progress report is the start date. Nearly all of our students this semester have a start date of August 17th. Now, perhaps your student was not actually enrolled in this on the 17th, maybe a few weeks later. This date honestly has very little impact on your students' overall experience in Edgenuity. It is true that the program takes the total amount of time between the start date and the target date, which I'll get to in a minute, spaces out your students' work accordingly. However, if we were to put that start date 2 weeks later, it wouldn't give your student more time to do the work. Really, it would just make them look like they were further behind um, than they already are. So we're leaving that alone for the most part. If you do have questions or concerns about that, please don't hesitate to contact me or Dr. Hall. The target date is the date by which your students must have completed the course. Whatever completion they have, whatever grade they have on December 17th, that is the grade they get for the course. We cannot move this date. It is stagnant. So no matter if we change the start date, the target date remains the same. That is the end of the semester. The estimated time remaining takes where your student is at right now when the report is generated and tells them approximately how much time is left between that moment and the end of the course. For this student, it's 51 hours and 31 minutes. They have 51 hours and 31 minutes to complete all the rest of the course before the opportunity to work on or make changes ends. Now, these two statistics are incredibly important. The first one, the complete up there that says 2.7%, that is how much of the overall course, so of the whole class of biology, the student has completed. And in this case, it's 2.7%. Now, we're pretty early in the semester, and you're like, oh, 2.7%, that's not crazy. That's not bad, except for then we're going to look at the target completion. That's how much of the overall course your student should have completed by this time. And we can see that that's 15.7%. That's 13 percentage points away. So really the student has a lot of catching up to do. The next two parts I want to point out too are the overall grade and the actual grade. The overall grade that you see up there where it says 80% is the grade based off of the work that the student has completed. So in that 2.7% of the course that the student has completed, they've made an 80% on those assignments. 80% is not bad. However, we have to look at the actual grade, and this is the more important statistic to look at. The actual grade is only 13.9%, so that means the student is actually failing. And that's because it factors in the zeros for the missing work that the student has not accomplished yet, because they should be at 15.7%. So that 13% between the work the student has completed and the work that the student should have completed, all of those zeros get added into the actual grade. It would be as if a student was attending class but not actually doing the work for the class. By a certain point in the semester, they should have done a certain amount of work, and they haven't. So all that missing work is racking up zeros. So the actual grade is really the grade you want to pay most attention to. Now, this is the daily goal. As we know, Edgenuity is self-paced, meaning if a student's having a hard time with a certain unit, they can spend more time on it. If they're breezing through another unit, they can just finish it as soon as they can, as soon as they want to. This daily goal is how much time the Edgenuity program thinks that the student should be spending a day on this particular class. Not all of the classes in Edgenuity, just this one, which happens to be biology. So this student, their daily goal is 52 minutes a day. If they were to catch up and get on their target completion, that number, that 52 minutes, would decrease. Maybe they would only need to spend 30 minutes. Students that are working really hard and are breezing through these lessons, and maybe they've actually completed 20%, which is above and beyond the target completion. That daily goal will drop down even further. So it's really based on how much work the student has to catch up on in order to be on target and to finish the course by the target date. Now we get down to this little Excel sheet down here. So you can see that across the top we have quiz, test, exam, assignment, lab, and project. These are all different types of tasks that the student will need to complete throughout this course. On the left, we have taken, tested out, total, graded, score, and weight. The taken row shows you how many of each one of those tasks the students have attempted. So this student has taken one quiz and has submitted 6 assignments. Now, sometimes a student can test out of a specific unit. There's a test at the very beginning of each unit, and if the student scores, I believe it's an 80% or higher, the student doesn't have to complete that unit. So there is a chance that students could test out of a number of these tasks depending on each of those pre-tests. The total is the total number of each of the tasks included in the overall course. So by the time that this student gets done with biology, they will have taken 25 quizzes, 4 tests, 1 exam, 124 assignments, 9 labs, and 4 projects. That's throughout the entire semester. Sorry. This graded row just means how many of each of those tasks have been graded. Now, the quizzes, tests, and exams, and some of the labs and projects get graded by the Edgenuity program. Some of them actually require educators to go in and grade them. I'm not 100% positive on the process of that. But if you have questions or concerns, please notify me and I can look up that information for you. As you can see, the student in this sample class has turned in 6 assignments, but only 1 has been graded. That's probably because they are the type of task that needs to be graded by an actual educator, not by the program. Here we get the score. This averages the scores of all of the items submitted in those tasks. So, for example, the student has taken one quiz, a single quiz, and scored a 70% on that quiz. Now, say that the student had taken 2 quizzes, and on one they scored a 70%, and on one they scored 50%. This overall score here in this row would be a 60% because it averages the two together. You can see on the students' assignments, all 6 of those assignments, the one that was graded got a 100%. So this score row will change depending on how many of the items that the student has accomplished and the grades that they receive on those items. The last thing I want to draw your attention to is this weight row. Now, this row indicates how extensively the total of each task affects the student's overall grade in the course. So quizzes are weighted at 20%. They make up 20% of the student's overall grade. Tests make up 30% of the student's overall grade, exams 20%, assignments 10%, labs 10%, projects 10%. Now, this means that if a student does really, really well in one area, say that they do phenomenally on the quizzes, then they know that that 20% of that grade is golden. However, if they do really well on the quizzes, but on everything else, they get really low scores, then that's going to bring their overall grade down pretty extensively because the quiz is only worth 20%, and if you add all of the other weights together, it's 80% of the course, everything else. So if you know that your student has a hard time taking tests, you might want to help them study for the quizzes, the tests, and the exams, because all together, those are worth 70% of the overall grade for the course. Just something to keep an eye out for. I hope this has been beneficial for you. If you have any questions or comments about any of this, please don't hesitate to contact me. Again, I will be sending these out to you weekly, so you can keep up with your students, help them where they need help, and celebrate their successes.